But here are the big 5 questions that you need to ask yourself and that we will be taking to our guests. Now, can India prevent these drugs from becoming a cosmetic shortcut for the rich and for the thin? Now, do GLP-1 drugs cause blindness, as has been the case reported by several in United States? Are GLP-1 drugs linked to thyroid cancer? Do they lead to stomach paralysis, as has been said in a lawsuit that has been filed against Ozempic? Should doctors now prescribe GLP-1 drugs for weight alone or wait for the comorbidities? These very important 5 questions is what we're going to pick up with our guests this evening. Joining us now is Professor and Dr. Shashank Joshi, endocrinologist, one of the most respected people on the subject in the country. Also with us is Dr. Ved. He's a chief scientific advisor at FITA. Dr. Joshi, let me begin with you. As I said in that report as well, it's great from a medical perspective. It's perhaps very worrying from a societal perspective. In your view, once these drugs get cheaper, more accessible, not injectables, but just a pill like you pop, like so many take for diabetes or blood pressure or blood thinners that people take, what is the downside really, and how do we ensure that the misuse is actually curbed?
Well, I think you get out a very important point. The main thing is that obesity is a disease. And because it's a disease, we need to be very cautious about use of these drugs, because they should be only given under ethical prescription by an endocrinologist or an expert in that domain, like a cardiologist or a physician who has domain expertise in giving this drug, and not by any person. So that is the first thing. Secondly, there are compelling uses for these drugs, like diabetes, heart disease with a BMI more than 27 or 30. So the most deserving people who are sick, they deserve it the most, because it can save lives, it can save them from heart disease, etc. So I think it is a very important thing that these are not cosmetic medications, and they are already accessible and affordable now in India. The oral pill of semaglutide version costs only 10,000 rupees a month, compared to, say, the injectable, which is 13 to 15,000 or 20,000 rupees a month. So they are getting more and more affordable. And once the genericization will happen, it will be more accessible. But they have to be medically supervised. So let me be very clear that there are known contraindications. They need medical supervision, and they should not be given by all and unless and until there is
but Dr. Joshi, that's the hope, no? We do know, and you also understand this more than anybody else, that misuse is happening even now. When I speak with endocrinologists across the country, they tell you that every second person walking into their clinic as of today is asking for it when they don't need it. If that's the case now, when they're relatively expensive, how are you saying we'll curb it once they become so much cheaper?
I think you need ethical oversight and ethical
All right, we'll just fix that line with Dr. Joshi just a bit. Let me bring in Dr. Ved now. Dr. Ved, you've written a detailed article where you talk about the downside of these drugs. You talk about warning signs. Would you like to make your opening statement on why you think people who just want to fit into that sari, or just want to fit into that pair of jeans, or just get that body to go to a beach, should stay away from it?
Yes. So first of all, these drugs were primarily developed for diabetes, and they have found its use in weight loss. So that is first. So when it comes to weight loss, we are talking about obesity. So if we take a step back and look at obesity as a problem, so obesity also typically happens with advanced age, and diabetes is a comorbidity. I mean,
But Dr. Ved, they do have the license to be prescribed for weight loss in India, at least. The ones that are operating, they have the license. It's not like doctors are giving it for weight loss under the table. They have the license to be prescribed for diabetes, and they have the license to be prescribed for weight loss.
Yes, they have the license. There is no debate on that. But how it is being marketed, that this is the magic pill. So the real intervention, if you think about it, why there is obesity in the first place, why there is diabetes in the first place, that is because of lack of exercise. So if you look at the root cause of why this is happening, it is because it's happening because of lack of exercise. That is point number one. Secondly, even for these drugs to work better, caloric restriction is required and resistance training is required. Because one of the side effects of these drugs, among cancer and other things, is muscle loss. So if you have an adequate nutrient dense calorie deficit diet, primarily sufficient protein intake, and complement that with resistance training, then these drugs are known to perform better. But what is happening is that this complete information is not going out, and just that these drugs are looked upon as magic pill, which is something that one should be wary about.
I'm
And
very happy you brought that point, that this drug alone fixing your health is the wrong or perhaps the incomplete information going out. We were just showing, and we'd love to go back to those pictures of before and after of celebrities. These are celebrities who've gone on record to say that they lost a lot of weight and they were struggling with it for a while thanks to GLP-1. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential women or perhaps human being on the planet, has gone ahead to say that she was struggling with it for so long and there's finally a rescue of sorts that she has. So you have celebrities all over saying that I managed to fix my health with it. It's going to be very difficult to expect the common man to do the research, which is why I ask you a very pointed question. GLP-1 drugs causing blindness, GLP-1 drugs causing thyroid cancer, causing stomach paralysis. What exactly is your research saying on these 3 points?
there is definitely enough research done on this point, stating that these are the known side effects. In fact, if you look at the websites and official websites of the companies that market these drugs, they do mention about these side effects clearly. And people having certain family history of cancers are advised to definitely consult their physicians. And in any which ways, this drug should always be taken under medical guidance.
That's right. Dr. Shashank Joshi is also back with us. Dr. Joshi, could you shed some light on the latest that we are hearing on GLP-1 drugs? In fact, just this morning, we read of a report, a legal notice that has been sent to Ozempic now, and it's a public suit in a way that it's a combined suit of several people who are saying that because of Ozempic, and if I understand the lawsuit correctly, it says that prolonged use of the drug had caused blindness, has caused stomach paralysis, and even increased risk of thyroid cancer. This case is now in a US court. What exactly are you sort of reading from this in terms of prescriptions to be given out here in India?
So now let us look at all the side effects of these agents. The commonest side effects of these agents are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and constipation. These are given, and we counsel all the patients. That is why we start low and go slow. And that is why there is a need. If there is an underlying gallstone or a gallbladder disease or a pancreatic disease, we do not give these drugs, which is why medical supervision is necessary. So these are something, every drug which works has an effect, has a side effect. So these are something which are there in the pharmaceutical domain, which have been published by the companies. As far as multiple endocrine neoplasia is a very rare condition. Occasionally we do a calcitonin level, and these are rare forms of familial thyroid cancers, which have had some association in animal studies, but human data has not been forthcoming on these agents for sure. As far as the blindness story is concerned, I think the verdict is not out. There are some data sets which are retrospective for it, some against it, but I think the final verdict on this is not out. It's a very rare thing. So remember a couple of things, that nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, constipation are common side effects to the tune of 5 to 10%. And therefore, we have to start slow. The other side effects, like a rare form of a familial thyroid cancer or blindness, are subject to scrutiny and pharmacovigilance. Remember, every drug on planet Earth will have effects and side effects. Some rare,
so Dr.
some
Joshi, am I
extremely rare.
understanding you correctly? You're saying there is nothing wrong with the drug. These claims that are being spoken about, these downside is known, and perhaps the medical fraternity is aware about it. Why these cases are happening is because they have been misprescribed. Is that the right way to understand this?
So that I'm not so sure, but people do not want, see, these drugs are very good to initiate, and they have to stay on the medication for an appropriate period of time. But remember, a drug is not a substitute lifestyle. So Sonal, I think the right thing is, that we need to integrate lifestyle once you have lost weight and continue the lifestyle, protein, muscle mass building, and also be pharmacovigilant for every adverse event. I think if that is not done and people stick to it like the way they wear a shirt or a pant or clothes, I think that's not correct. So I think there is a clear need for a medical oversight and a regulatory oversight both. And I think we need more and more pharmacovigilance on the same. So I think the verdict on blindness is still not out. The verdict on thyroid cancer is still not clearly out. The verdict on nausea, vomiting, constipation is very clear that it is very much there.
My last question, very quickly, Dr. Joshi, since I have you. So, are we saying that the responsibility of misuse of these drugs leading to this very lethal kind of side effects, people going blind, getting cancer, getting stomach paralysis, a lot of it is going to rely on the doctors and how they prescribe it?
Absolutely. But I think it will equally also lie on the people who are taking it. And it is important to understand that it is a multidisciplinary care when it comes to weight loss. And people living with obesity have an option now. They have a surgical option, they have a medical option, and they have a lifestyle option. And we need to integrate care. I don't think, and that's why I really compliment our Honorable Prime Minister for putting people living with obesity on spotlight and focus, Fit India movement. And it's important to integrate lifestyle, and medical supervision in the entire care ecosystem.
Because I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Dr. Joshi, Dr. Ved, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective.